Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MKS here, back with another video. Hope everyone's well wherever you are. And welcome to part 2. YouTube has done that really weird thing with there's a strange thing where the clock seems to go something. I don't know what happens there, but anyway. Not like it's in October where the clocks go back. Sorry. Anyway, welcome to part 2, of my plans and dreams for Central Africa and how I'd love to be a hub for Pan-Africanism and for the African Union. I should have put that in the tags, actually. I should have put tags for the African Union and that kind of thing. But anyway, should have, could have, whatever. But yeah, how I'd love for them to be a hub to connect all of Africa and invite the rest of Africa to Central Africa and make peace with each other and Africa to make peace and work together and see what they can build, like robots and whatever else. Yeah, here goes. So these are pointers number 11 to 20 as per usual for part 2. So here goes. So number 11, when it comes to the not the tags, I got these playlists. If you can see, I was going to say if you can notice, if you see or if you've noticed that there are some tags, not playlists, sorry, not tags, which sort of say like Celtic FC related, Italian football related, reparations, plans and that kind of thing, plans and so forth and that kind of thing. And in this case I put all 8 because I got 8 different playlists, and because I think this could cover all of those things. I was wondering whether to include the Italian football thing and Celtic, which I'm pretty sure I covered. Yeah, I remember now, I covered in part 1. But yeah, I've covered them all. So all the playlists. So yeah, I love to change the perception of. I covered things about dyslexia as well, so I love to raise awareness of dyslexia across Africa. So I love for countries like Rwanda, South Africa, Central Africa, and other parts of Africa, especially Central Africa in particular. But again, South Africa, another one, a big one, Rwanda, and as much of Africa as possible, really, to host events that bring each other together. But especially Central Africa. When it comes to dyslexia, I would love for like Dyslexia Vantage, Made by Dyslexia, and other organisations that work with dyslexia to host events and encourage African countries to invite dyslexic entrepreneurs, ideas people, inventors, investors, and all sorts of people to talk about the positive traits of dyslexia, whilst also acknowledging that we do have struggles as well, weaknesses and strengths like everyone else, pretty much. I'm sure pretty much everyone has weaknesses and strengths. To err is human, as they say. But yeah, to change the perception of dyslexia. So I did want to include something about dyslexia. Amongst other things, I was wondering whether to include, tick the playlist for that in part 3 and 4, or to do that in 2, 3, and 4. And I decided to do the latter because, as I say, I love for Central Africa and South Africa and Rwanda as well, and the rest of Africa as well, to host events where they invite individuals with dyslexia, like entrepreneurs, ideas people, inventors, investors, and people who have done well in their chosen field, especially to show what we can do. And also like organisations like Made by Dyslexia and the Dyslexia Vantage. I suppose actually through those organisations there would be individuals going there as part of those. So like Made by Dyslexia had the global dyslexia thing, but as I mentioned in the past, I think because that was in like New York in America, and I think it was Sweden as well, but those are like first world nations, Western nations, and I think it would be good to have them in African nations where they might need to learn more about dyslexia. And you might say there's other priorities for African countries, but I think dyslexics could really contribute with our creativity, ideas, industrialness, and whatever. Some dyslexics are even hardworking, unlike me, but showing what dyslexics can do, and so hopefully that would mean African countries, including Central Africa and the rest of Africa, will start to treat dyslexics better, but also we would show what we can do, and hope dyslexics from the West or the rest of the world basically can show what they can do to help dyslexics in Africa, especially, again, those who are successful in their chosen fields. Also, I love to support inventors, ideas, people, entrepreneurs, and that kind of thing, and all sorts of things in Africa generally. Number 12, that would include like encouraging people to be mentors, role models, teachers, trainers, and whatnot, passing on information, like I said in part 1, in point number 2. But also hosting events that connect Africa through music, movies, things like that, and maybe promoting Pan-Africanism, for instance, through movies, music, poetry, art, writing, and different sort of mediums and forms. So there could be movies which talk about the benefits and talk about these potential benefits of Pan-Africanism, which I believe there are many. And there could be in lyrics as well as scripts talking about the potential benefits of Pan-Africanism and that kind of thing. So that would benefit African unity. So when people make films in Nigeria and the rest of Africa, I hope they can learn from each other, for one thing, but bouncing ideas off each other and investing in each other and building things together rather than destroying things, which I've been talking about. But I was thinking of specific areas like movies, music, and that kind of thing, but also all just different areas as well. But they could create movies which talk about showing an image of the benefits or potential benefits of Pan-Africanism and that kind of thing. But as ever, I'd love to know what you think, and if you have any questions or anything you want to comment, as ever, please do fire away. But yeah, how can Africans mentor each other, and how can they network together, and all that kind of thing. And moving on to number 13, addressing some of the issues that are faced in Africa, and making horror movies and thrillers together. As I say, from a selfish point of view, I'd love for Africans to invest into and sponsor Italian football. And I'd love for, like, I watched something recently on YouTube, although it was talking about the struggles of an organisation whose name I forgot, multimedia something or the other, which is a sports broadcaster in Africa. But I mean, they still have quite a lot of money, but they're struggling compared to how they were before. But as unfortunately many companies are, not just in Africa, I'm sure, but around the world. But I suppose struggle is a part of life, as they say. Some say existence is suffering, life is pain, or whatever. But anyway, so very pessimistic of me. Another thing is like capitalizing from things like Friday the 13th, Halloween, and things like making masks, costumes, and all sorts of things. I was hoping for dyslexics to make that. I was hoping I'd actually get it done this year, but since Halloween's tomorrow, thinking about it, I don't think I will. But who knows? Maybe it could be like last minute. That if people with dyslexia and black people and others wanna, and sugar others wanna post up like links of websites and things like that they might have made scary, creepy, macabre stuff for Halloween, please do feel free to do so. But yeah, dyslexic creativity as well. I talked a bit about, but yeah, using dyslexic creativity to make positives out of negatives, like making masks and costumes and scary and creepy and macabre stuff and all that kind of thing. But yeah, from a selfish point of view, I'd love for them to invest in Italian football and look how they could broadcast Italian teams. In fact, from a really selfish point of view, I would love for all companies in the world and all investors in the world to invest in Italian teams that begin with the same letter or letters, and ones that might begin with like X if there's no Italian team that begins with X, or D, or other letters that Italian teams might not begin with. I'd love for them to invest in Roma from a more selfish point of view. I include for point number 13 the selfish sort of thing. But moving on, number 14, problem solving. I would love for Africans to work together to solve problems, whether it's problems they face or even the rest of the world, like I talk about, like robots and things like, or even African doctors and scientists, medics and whatnot, looking at how they can cure illnesses or even prevent illnesses, diseases, whatever. And I get those mixed up quite a lot, illnesses and diseases. But yeah, someone asked me what's an example of an illness or disease. I sort of say illness / disease because I use those terms interchangeably, if you like, just like many other terms, which you might have noticed if you might have other videos. But I suppose thinking about point number 13, the first I have to mention, just like they say in Alcoholics Anonymous, apparently, for all my problems, I don't drink alcohol. I drink tea instead, I guess, or Pepsi or whatever, unless the secret ingredient, some say, is alcohol, heaven forbid. But anyway, I try to avoid alcohol, given all my other problems I have. But yeah, the first step is admitting that you have a problem before you can solve it. But yeah, I'd love for Africans to work together to solve problems and to even sell those problems to the rest of the world. The financial guru Robert Kiyosaki, who I have to mention, says if you want to make $1 million, solve $1 million problem. I think you've probably got to solve a multi-million-dollar problem by the time you paid for all your staff and all that. So if you want to make $1 million, but I think he was just giving an example, like if you solve problems. But yeah, Africans to work together, especially in Central Africa, to solve problems. Well, that's climate change / global warming. Again, two terms I use interchangeably. I suppose they're connected. Or whatever other problems, like solving them or even preventing them from happening as much as possible. I love for Africans, again, to network together. One benefit I think there's a few benefits of Pan-Africanism coming together and working together, or any group working together. And one of them is that you can work together to solve problems, and you can also encourage each other and build things and grow things and whatnot, for instance. So yeah, I think building and growing things, and I talked about robots, exporting those robots that can make life easier by doing a task we don't want to do, the errands, chores, tasks and whatnot that we don't want to do, so we can be freed up to do the things we do want to do. God willing and Godspeed. But moving on that note, number 15, look at how Africans can work together again to build things and work on their individual and countries' ambitions and things like that. Number 16, I'd love for people to share what are the best ways to benefit Africa, and I'd love for there to be think tanks, committees, networks, cooperatives, or whatever you want to call them, basically collaboration, again, Pan-Africanism, and maybe they could even work with people from the diaspora, which I hope to come to a bit later, as well as with each other and learn from each other, as I said, and work to improve lives for each other and solve problems and whatnot, especially for each other, if not the world generally, ideally. But yeah, I think think tanks, cooperatives or whatever, and that kind of thing. I suppose I mix those up, but what I mean is a group of people who meet up and discuss what are the best things, in this case for Africa, if not the world. I suppose a cooperative is where each member has an equal vote, whereas a think tank could be where some people run it. So I suppose there is a bit of a difference, but think tank Thursdays. But yeah, seeing what they can achieve together and what are the best ways to benefit Africa. Number 17, I hope they will use their imagination to show what Africa can make and manufacture and make many things in Africa, make many great things in Africa. And again, I think if they can avoid conflict and which comes from division, disunity, and that kind of thing, if they can avoid all that and come together, I think they can achieve great things. And it's something dyslexics are also good at, using our imagination. I suppose I could have said at point number 14, but I forgot. I didn't think about that time, but I was thinking about it earlier, actually, number 14, about, and I'll mention 14, but problem solving is a dyslexic strength. Many dyslexic people have, not all, but we sort of have different strengths, and it affects us differently. We have different weaknesses and strengths, but many times they're very similar. Like many dyslexics are good at art, creativity, or things like. Some of us struggle to use our hands, but some of us can be good at that. So and that kind of thing. But it does affect us in different ways. But I think dyslexics can contribute a lot to African countries and help them to grow their economies. And I'd love to have a project which shows what we can do for Africa. But what do you think? What about you? I'd love to know. Especially dyslexics out there and dyslexic organisations and whatnot. Number 18, again, seeing positive things and building positive stories, like Woda Meyer, if I pronounce his name right, especially his surname, talked about like the positive images of Africa you don't see on TV. I think it'd be good to see more of that, and seeing what they can do again to build together and grow together rather than being divided. Africans to say positive things about their own countries and their own continent and each other's countries as part of that and that kind of thing. So people from Rwanda could say positive things about Central Africa and vice versa. Kenyans could talk about what they like about Ghana or South Africa or whatever the most, and vice versa. And they could have a bit of banter, but mainly positives as well. and positive affirmations and positive beliefs on Africa. And again, positive images that you might not always see. So see more of that positive image, which could help. I mean, as some say, perception is greater than reality. I don't know what you think, but again, and that's one that you. What do you think about that? Number 19, working together, say on robotics, working together on AI, generally apps, and what they can build, tech, STEM, and all sorts of things, and that kind of thing. I think would be cool. Again, I'd love for there to be Pan-African movie makers, filmmakers, which I'm talking for film/movies, producers, directors, actors, actresses, and whatnot, working together, moving together. Pan-African music, lyrics, scripts, stories, poetry, art, writing, and robotics, and all sorts of things that promote Pan-Africanism and help to see what they can do to benefit. And number 20, I'd love for people of all ages from Africa to benefit. I know I mentioned in part 1, I've mentioned in the past, I really strongly dislike, and bordering on hate the saying, I don't hate it, but it borders on that, saying respect your elders. In fact, if people say that, like, excuse me, I'm older than you, or million simply, I'm older than you, or respect your elders, like, I'd want them to be slightly ill, but not that ill. But yeah, I'm a great believer in looking after the young. But then again, if people are old and elderly and infirm, especially if they're polite, and that's the thing, I think if people are polite, we should look after them and be polite back. I think we should treat people slightly better than they treat us, and that's what I'd love to do if I could, God willing and Godspeed. I'd love to treat everyone slightly better than they treat me. And I suppose with older people, you can give them a bit of leeway. I'm going a bit off topic, but with younger people, again, still going off topic a little bit, but with younger people, if they're under 18, it's like kind of giving them a bit of leeway, especially like when I was a teenager, I was really mouthy. But yeah, I suppose I'm not much of a disciplinarian. But I do want to encourage people to be polite and nice to each other. And maybe that includes leading by example. That's one problem I'd have with the biblical teaching about, like, spare the rod and spoil the child and that kind of thing. I've seen somewhere they'd say, like, in black families, like, there's an African American show where someone like was very disciplined, or was disciplining their nephew, and said, I hit them not because because I care for them. But then I wonder if someone says, okay, if that's caring for someone, when you become older and you're not, then if I hit you, then that means I'm caring for you. But anyway, I'm probably going off tangents. I hope I'm making some sort of sense. But anyway, most importantly, I hope I can benefit people from Africa, especially young people, but people of all ages and backgrounds. And I think it'd be cool if the 1 billion or so people from Africa work together on making programming languages, codes, software programs, disk operating systems, and all sorts of things, robots, AI, and all sorts. And out to peace and love.